And I'm here on a Facebook Live with my good friend Nick True. Nick, man, how are you?
I'm doing really well, Joe. How are you?
Well, I'm fantastic now that I'm talking to you. I can't believe we're right around the corner from FinCon already.
I know it is creeping up on us very, very quickly. I think on our team call a couple of weeks ago, somebody like named the weeks. We're I don't know 10 or 12 weeks away, and it was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, geez, it's fast.
It's going to be here before we know it. This year
Absolutely.
we're in Washington D.C. Um, and Washington's going to present so many cool things. This might be the year, and I know we're going to dig into exactly what to do here in a second, but this might be the year people either want to extend their stay or come early because man, there's a lot of other stuff to do there. I don't know if you know that, Nick. There might be a thing to do
Are
in
are
Washington
there
D.C.
there are things to do in DC? I
Yes,
didn't. Hmm. Are they interesting things?
maybe one or two, maybe a couple
Okay.
museums.
Yeah.
Into like the air and space thing myself.
Okay. Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
cool. All right, let's dig in because you've been nice enough to make us a list. And for the people hanging out with us, we're going to pop this list up one at a time. Let's start off by talking about clothing, Nick, because this is something that gets first timers every year when it comes to FinCon. You don't pack for the weather, you pack for the place.
Exactly. And it's funny because I think about even my first FinCon, I was concerned, one, okay, what's the situation like there in terms of the weather, the plays, et cetera. But then even more importantly, what kind of conference is this? Like, what are the expectations? Is everybody really dressed up? Is everybody really dressed down? And I found that that question tends to come up over and over and over again every single year. And so just out of the gate, what I always say is come wearing whatever you would like to wear.
Yeah.
But I encourage you to be as comfortable as possible. You're going to see a handful of folks that will be in, super business suits and the whole nine. But that's probably the minority. I would say the vast majority of people are wearing comfortable clothing, everything from like what you've got on right now, Joe, to button down and maybe some jeans, to jeans and a t-shirt. I'm gonna have mostly FinCon t-shirts on, so you'll probably see me sporting t-shirts and ball caps the whole time.
I find that every year I go to FinCon, I dress more and more and more the way I would dress for my brand. And
Exactly.
I find people generally do that too. Brands that are more button up will dress more button up, and brands that are down home definitely dress that way. Jay Money, even he
He's on brand. That's
he
the best way to say it.
make sure he's. I don't think there's a time when that guy's not on brand, but
No,
he's on brand.
no, not at all.
But
Not at all.
I was leaning into a different thing where I thought you were going, which is that I feel like every year these conference rooms are cold.
Oh,
I
they are.
find myself cold. So even if you think it's going to be warm in August and September here, guys, dress, bring a sweater to carry around in case these sessions are cold. Because these hotels, man, they jack up the air.
They do. They jack it up because they know, I mean, there's going to be a couple thousand people there this year. So the whole thing is they know that there's a ton of people and they know that they got to keep the AC rolling. Otherwise, it will get too hot. So sometimes that gets real cold. So definitely pack your jacket.
We did have, back to your original point though, we did have a phrase when I lived in Texas the last decade, which is come as you are. Texarkana was a come as you are town. FinCon's a come as you are conference.
Totally. I love that. And on that note, as far as come as you are, I would say definitely come as you are, comma, throw in a pair of comfortable shoes. Because after 4 days of being on your feet, standing, walking, going back and forth, you're going to want to make sure you've packed comfortable shoes, no doubt.
Yeah. Fantastic place to start. Let's go second. There's the official stuff, which we'll get to in a second, but you want to talk about niche and local meetups.
Yeah. So one of the things I really want to point first timers to is that as the conference grows, like I said, last year we had about 2,000 people. This year we're going to be pushing 2,500 people. And so as the conference expands, it's important for you to find subgroups of people within the larger community that you can really connect with. And one of the things we do to try and help facilitate that is niche meetups and local meetups. So there's going to be opportunities for you to, find the crowd who's specifically interested in real estate, or the crowd who's specifically interested in women's finance, or the crowd who's specifically interested in finance for kids or investing. And then the same thing on the local side. There's, going to be a San Diego group, an affiliate group, and a Texas group. And we've got a lot of different kind of local things going on. And I just want to make sure you check out the schedule, know that that's happening, because we want to ensure that you find people at the event that you can connect with, and then you can carry those relationships back home with you.
This, and you're going to talk about when to arrive later, but I found a lot of times these events happen early on in the conference, especially. So I know some people are going to look at the calendar and they're going to think that the big stuff doesn't happen until later in the week.
Yep.
Really the big stuff, which is all of this networking, which people, I think brand new people especially, underemphasize the networking aspect of this conference, which is monster. Make sure you're there for that.
Totally. Yeah. If you can at all come in early Tuesday, at a minimum on Wednesday, ideally, you want to make that happen.
Yeah. If somebody has an event, who do they reach out to at FinCon to make sure it gets on the schedule?
That would be me. So if anybody's got an event or something that they want to coordinate, kind of the first contact will be me. You can reach out basically across any of our FinCon social media handles, or you can just shoot me an email at nick@FinConExpo, and we can chat about trying to figure out when's a good time and how to make that happen.
Nick is very hard to work with. Incredibly hard to work with.
Super hard, super difficult.
Gonna put you through the ringer about your, what do you mean meetup? No meetup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything from, in fact, because of those niche and local meetups, you'll often have, and you'll find members of your community might want to come meet you. I found in the last few years with Stacking Benjamins, we've had meetups for our community. We did a live show last year. Schedule those types of things. Have your community come meet you in places where you are, even if it's going to be just you and a couple people, you and one person. Sometimes those little tiny, finding people that actually read what you do or watch what you do, listen to what you do, those are so fun.
Totally. And that's one of the huge benefits of FinCon moving around every year, right? It gives us the opportunity and gives you the opportunity to go to a new city. Normally it's it's a large city. So there's a good shot that you've got some folks in that area who want to meet you, want to reach out. So definitely take advantage of that.
One of the keys to FinCon for new people is this area called FinCon Central. Every year, FinCon Central becomes more and more of, I remember PT back in the day talking about, let's make sure this is a circus. It truly, Nick, FinCon Central is truly a circus. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so FinCon Central is the hub of FinCon for a couple of days, and it kind of changes every year a little bit as far as when we do it, the timing, and where it's located, just based on the hotel and the layout, how the schedule looks. This year, it's going to be across 3 kind of half days instead of historically we've done it kind of on 2 big days. So we're going to have that sprinkled throughout. And it really is the circus. It's the hub. So we're going to have everything from, obviously, we'll have companies in there who've come and want to talk to you about maybe being an affiliate and how you can work together. And you can look at them and work with them to help further your brand. And then we've also got talks going on in there. We've got food in there. We've got music in there. We're going to have free headshots. There's last year, Ally Bank was making pancakes of people's faces. It was awesome.
Fidelity Investments last year had that 3D. Did you do the Oculus where you put the 3D thing on?
Yep. Yeah, it's amazing. And then, we've got, we'll have a video booth in there. So if you want to record YouTube videos for your site, you can do that. We're going to have a podcasting booth. It's truly, it is the hub. It is the main thing. And then, of course, obviously, standing around talking, building relationships, chatting, all of that will be in there as well.
Make sure that you are on the FinCon community page right here and you check it regularly, because I know when people like Steve Stewart put out the list of times for that podcasting booth to go, and I know there's a place to do videos. I mean, there's all kinds of groups. Make sure that you're checking that regularly so you get on the list. And you know what? For just a second, because I don't see this here on your list specifically, but I do want to focus on that, Nick. Create some content while you're at FinCon.
Totally.
You've got all these people here. You're going to see other people creating content. Do it. I mean, bring some of your stuff, whether it be, you know, I have this little tiny recorder that I can put in my pocket, and I just put this in people's faces. It doesn't have to be something elaborate. You'll see people sitting in a corner creating, you know, an interview for a blog post, doing a video. I did a video last year with Andy Hill where Andy just stuck it in my face and goes, "Hey, you want to do this right now?" Yes. Yep. Yes, I do want to do it now. So be ready to do content of your own. You've got all these resources here. Instead of waiting, do it right then.
Totally. It is hands down one of the easiest ways to, you know, obviously create content for your brand, which is helpful, but even more important than that, kind of create some goodwill with other people and build those relationships. I mean, Andy, honestly, Joe, to that point, I hadn't actually ever spoke with Andy really in person or online until we briefly met at FinCon last year. And 30 seconds in the conversation, he was like, "Hey, you're married, right? Hey, do you want to do this quick thing for my podcast on family finance?" I was like, sure. So it's like, I just met him, but he, you know, he's prepared, he's ready to go. He's come with a goal in mind to make content, and it was awesome.
We did that with Stacky Benjamins. I mean, I think I got 10 or 15 future interviews there just by making connections with people. On that note, by the way, I said bring equipment. You don't have to bring equipment. But I mean, I do for those, and Andy did, and Nick, maybe you did. But also, I mentioned Steve Stewart earlier for podcasting. There's that podcasting stage. Yes. Steve will tell you what to bring, and it usually isn't more than a little tiny SD card. They have the microphones, they've got the recording equipment. It's all there and ready for you. So you just jump behind the mic with whoever your guest is, and you're rolling for a half an hour.
Yeah. And I think the other, you know, to even go more low budget than that, at the very least, what you can do is talk to people and just say, "Hey, I've been thinking about doing a blog post on this topic. And since I have you here, what do you think about this? Could I feature you? Do you have a thought on that I could feature in my article?" And you don't have to bring any equipment for that, right? A pencil paper and a notepad or a pencil, and you'll be good to go.
Early in my FinCon career, a friend of mine, Len Penzo, from the big time awarded lenpenzo.com, Len told me that FinCon should pay for itself. And this is also where FinCon Central comes in. A lot of these brands, Nick, are looking for partners. So you can walk around and talk about, "Hey, what do you got?" They're not there like it's you know, Fidelity selling fun. Fidelity's looking to work with you. Like these allies looking to work with you, these different companies that come to FinCon, they're looking for relationships. So they're actually in that FinCon Central, not to pitch you, but also to hear you pitch them.
Totally. And I think one of my favorite case studies of this, Joe, a recent one is Michelle Black. She actually came on and was on the FinCon blog here recently. Michelle went to FinCon for the first time last year, and she just hustled. She just got after it. She showed up. She kind of put herself out there, did a good job building those relationships, and she walked away, and within a few months after that, she had built up a freelancing base where she was doing freelance work for a lot of these companies that she was able to meet at FinCon. And she, you know, as far as paying, you know, making FinCon pay for itself, it's paid for itself many times over at this point for her. It's been huge.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't avoid FinCon Central. Get in there, and you'll see so many people hanging out there. I like this comment too, Nick. Lots of people are also open to being interviewed if you ask them to as well. It helps to ask early as schedules get busy, and that's another reason to get there early.
Yeah, and I just logged into Facebook over here. So that came from Robert Farrington. And, you know, if anybody knows about schedules getting busy, it's definitely Robert. He's a longtime FinConer. He's probably got, you know, meetings on the list.
What are you talking about?
He's been there.
Robert's sitting around with his feet up right now.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
He's just chilling. He's hanging out. Oh, man. But yeah, no, it's a good point. And I'm glad that he brings it up because if you are trying to interview somebody who it's a highly likely that they are going to be busy, definitely reach out early and kind of go ahead and try and get that lined up if at all possible.
But talking about Robert as an example, what a guy with a wealth of knowledge, right? He's written on tons of topics, and he is somebody who's always been a great interview. So it's great for his brand if you interview him.
Totally.
but how great is it for your brand to have somebody like Robert on? So fantastic for everybody there. That meetup. Thanks for that. Robert. Let's talk then about when to arrive. We mentioned this earlier, but you're saying earlier the better.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, a lot of people are going to get there early. And so if you can show up on Tuesday before the event kicks off and you just kind of hang out in the hotel and be around, you will start to meet people and you will have the opportunity to maybe go to dinner. It's before everybody gets crazy in terms of busy and the schedule's really kicking off and raring and blaring. I found that Tuesday night is one of my favorite nights because it's a little more relaxed and everybody's kind of jazzed up in the anticipation phase. It just gives you a great opportunity to meet people. So try to get there Tuesday if you can. If you can't, try to get there Wednesday. And then I also want to encourage people to definitely try and stay, through Saturday. But we'll touch back on that in a second.
And and initially you're not going to know a lot of people if you're new to the community.
Mm-mm.
It's a very approachable community though, guys. And it's funny. I remember my first FinCon, I didn't know anybody. I knew faces.
Yeah.
Like I knew people walking by. Like I saw people. I'm like, oh my God, that's so-and-so. That's so-and-so. Yep. And I had a little nerd, muddy nerd fanboy time, but those people are very happy. And back to Robert's point, it's very easy to talk to them and they will introduce you to other people. I want to go right down to the bottom of let's talk about this thing you have on the bottom though.
Yeah.
Here, Nick, because I think this is also important. I had my nerd boy moment early on at FinCon, but you had a point here. Don't focus on A-listers. I mean, don't get me wrong. Go up and say hi to people.
Yes.
Accessible, but there's lots of other people at FinCon.
Well, I think the key is, and this, I'll hit on this again in a second, but the key is, why are you coming? What's your long-term goals? What are you trying to do? And please, if you see somebody who's a big hero of yours, it means the world to them for them to hear in-person people say like, thank you. So go up to them, talk to them, approach them. Everybody is super nice. But recognize that the likelihood of you being able to become best friends with them or, join a mastermind group with them and so that they can help, bounce ideas off each other and grow their business, it's just not that likely because they're already a very busy person. So what's much better if you are focused on growing your brand and your business and your online presence is to focus on really spending time with people that you connect with that are at or kind of around your level. And then these people, what's fun is that you guys both have the time and the energy and you're at similar spots to really play off each other and work together and watch each other's brands grow. And so I would spend the vast majority of my time at FinCon in terms of the relationships focused on finding those core people that I can really leave with and then, grow with. I mean, Joe, you're a fantastic example. How many people have you met at FinCon throughout your years that now you guys were at similar levels and you guys work together, you're still regularly in touch with these people, bouncing ideas off each other, doing things together and new ventures. And a lot of that has to do with kind of where you both met in timeline and being able to grow together.
I'm thinking of people. I remember my former business partner Kathleen Selmans had this great idea, and I kind of practiced it. But when Kathleen and I worked together, it really we made it more of a point. When we went to lunch, we'd go find somebody we didn't know that we'd never met and say, "Hey, do you want to have lunch with me?" And I get to know that person. That's how I got to know Gwen Mertz, who now I try to have lunch with once a year, and we take a bunch of people out with us. And if you know Gwen, all you do during lunch is laugh from the beginning of the end to lunch.
Absolutely.
You just laugh your head off, and it becomes, you put Gwen on a stage, put up a couple lights, bam, it's the Gwen show.
Yep.
So we had fun. She and Jeremy from Go Curry Cracker, I didn't know either one of them. And Kathleen and I grabbed them, went to lunch, and next thing you know, I had 2 new people on my show, but more than that, 2 new friends, to your point, 2 new people to collaborate with. That was really cool. It's funny because I know Jim left this comment, Jim Wang from Wallet Hacks says, don't be afraid to walk up to groups and say hi. Everyone's super nice. I remember I'm going to put Jim on the spot here. My first FinCon, I am putting toast in a toaster. And Jim comes up and says something to me about toast. And I said something back, and I'm like, I'm having this discussion with Jim Wang. and it was a surreal moment at first, of course. Now I know Jim very well, and talking to Jim about toast is no big deal.
Yep.
It's just Jim Wang.
Well,
Jim?
I had a half-hour conversation with JD Roth, my first FinCon, and not knowing he was JD. And we talked about like Portland and RV travel and different things like that. And then I finally asked his name at the end of the conversation, and he was like, "Oh yeah, my name's JD." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
I know that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's super nice. They're very down to earth and they're real humans. I think another point on that, Joe, is that a lot of people that come to FinCon would consider themselves introverts. And so they're concerned about, how am I gonna get out there? I don't know anybody. This is not my strong suit. Well, the fun thing is that a lot of other people are introverts too. And so if you see somebody around and it doesn't look like, especially it doesn't look like maybe they're struggling to jump into a group, or you kind of see them around, they're probably a FinConer. They're probably nervous just like you are. And you would do them a favor by going up and saying, "Hi, I'm Nick. What's your name?" Because they also feel that same way. We all are very nervous when we come, especially at first.
A great icebreaker for me, because I really don't like small talk. Even though to people that I've met at FinCon, I think you think I really like small talk, uh, but I really don't. So to kind of break the ice, I'll try to walk up to somebody I don't know, and I'll say, "Hey, I'm Joe." They'll say who they are, and I'll say, "So what's your favorite thing been so far?" And because I'm very curious about what I've missed. And at FinCon, you're going to miss 85% of the stuff that goes on. There's just too much stuff to get around. It's almost like Disney, right?
Totally.
They say if you try to enjoy all of Disney, you're going to have a horrible time and you're still going to miss. Yep. FinCon's the same way. So I want to find out what I missed. So I'll say, "Hey, what's your favorite thing been? What's your favorite learning been?" And man, I've gotten some great learnings from people. And then we get by talking about toast, even though
exactly.
Even exactly. It's talking about, I agree, Jim. Talking about toast is awesome. Let's move on. Let's move on to the next thing, what do we got next on here, Nick?
Oh, just kind of the way the conference is structured. So on the networking piece, the relationship piece, one thing it's important to know, especially as a first timer, is this year the way we've got it set up is that the first 2 days are going to be really heavy on the networking and kind of doing business and building relationships. And we're leaving the content schedule more open for those 2 days. We'll have a little content sprinkled throughout, but it will be heavy, like giving you the opportunity to meet other people and hang out and talk about business and network together. And then the last 2 days are going to be much heavier on the content side. So if you're looking at the schedule and you're looking at the lineup of the speakers, just kind of know and come prepared that first couple days, heavy relationships, last couple days, heavier on the content.
And by the way, we've said this 57 times already in the 20 minutes we've been talking. Don't look at the schedule and think, "Okay, I'm just going to come the last 2 days."
No, gosh, no.
You're really going to mess up if you do that. You're going to mess up on if you're thinking about monetizing, which usually for a lot of people, the way to their hearts through their wallet. If you're thinking about monetization opportunity is going to happen in those first 2 days. Yep. Networking is going to happen in those first 2 days. Masterminding, all that stuff is the first. Please do not say, "Oh, it's backloaded, so I'm only going to come those days." Horrible idea.
Totally.
Next up, let's talk about this. One of my favorite things every year is one-on-one mentoring. Man, I had a great mentor last year, and we had so much fun over a lunch talking about him getting his social media together. Let's talk one.
Yeah. So this is another thing that is humongous for first timers. It's great for everybody, but especially first timers. And that is all of the speakers, and then a lot of other kind of more, longtime folks in the community will sign up to be a one-on-one mentor, and they give us, the team, kind of their area of expertise. And then when you sign up for one-on-one mentoring, you let us know kind of what area you're interested in being helped with. And then we set aside time in the conference for an hour for you to just work with this person and kind of just ask them questions and see how they get it and get their feedback. Last year, I ended up hanging out with a couple of folks who were interested in YouTube. And like you, Joe, we went to lunch, had some good food, and just chatted about creating video and making YouTube videos and what that looks like and strategy there. And it was an absolute blast.
I had a similar blast last year. I'll tell you, I was supposed to hang out with 2 people. I also remember I believe I was talking to David Stein from Money for the Rest of Us. I think he was supposed to talk to 2 people. I talked to one, and neither people that signed up for him showed up. And I'll tell you, if you miss out, if you miss out on a lunch, I've been doing this for a long time. if David Stein is
Yeah.
going to have a lunch with me, I'm going.
Yes.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm not missing that lunch.
Yeah. No.
Like,
Holy cow.
yeah. So if you're new and you're like, yeah, I'm going to skip that one-on-one mentoring, the people that you're getting paired with have been doing this for a good long time. They know what they're talking about. Every year, you guys, Nick, do a great job of pairing people with the right mentors. Like I see them all over the place. And I know for people that I've met with, for me, I'm talking about stuff that's just second nature, and I'm having fun, sharing the knowledge. I think it's a good time. And on their end, though, you can see it's like drinking through a fire hose.
Oh, yeah. Well, consistently going back to your question of, hey, what's been the best part of the conference for you so far? I mean, it's different for everybody, but I hear consistently year after year after year that the 1 hour spent during mentoring is humongous for people. So please do not skip out on that. It's a huge, huge value.
Yeah. And imagine this. This is a comment from Jim. He says, I've become good friends with folks I've mentored. It's a great way to connect in a very personal way.
Totally.
Imagine you get an hour with Jim Wang very seriously. What is that worth? Like that's the conference, right? That's a conference fee right there.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Easy.
If you can get Jim's wisdom applied to whatever, that's money in your pocket. All right. Next topic. You say don't leave Saturday.
Yeah. So one of the things that people, especially if they don't know, they'll look at the conference, they'll notice that one of the keynotes is ending, Saturday evening, and they'll go like, okay, well, I'm just gonna, you know what? I don't even need to see the keynote. I'm just gonna catch a Saturday afternoon flight and, head back home. And I get it. Okay. We're all in personal finance. A lot of us are very frugal. We want to be very mindful of how much money we're spending on this event. However, I really encourage you to not do that, because Saturday night, we're going to have a fantastic getaway or going away party. And if you like to party, there's going to be plenty of that. But if you are not really even the partying type, there's so many people that are just going to be hanging out in the hotel, going out to dinner, staying up late, chatting. This is your last chance to take everything you've learned and thought and talked about over the last couple of days and really make sure you dig deep into all the new friendships and relationships that you've built. And Saturday night is consistently one of my favorite nights in terms of looking back on the conversations that I've had. So please don't leave early. Definitely book your flight for Sunday. Stay that last night.
I want to talk about a few things that you touched on there. Number one is, I know also a lot of people being very frugal. That you look at the price of the hotel and you go, I think I might stay someplace else. Some of the best lessons I've had, I remember Sandy Smith from Yes, I Am Cheap gave me some phenomenal stuff in New Orleans at 2:30 in the morning. That were just like these knowledge bombs that only somebody like Sandy can share. I'm hanging out with a group of people, and she's just going on and on about stacking Benjamins and how we're missing the boat. And she was right. I mean, she was totally right. But that was 2:30 in the morning. I wouldn't have had that conversation if I didn't stay at the on-site hotel.
Totally.
And there's nothing in it for me, guys, to say that. There's zero in it for me. Like, there's no commission for me telling you to stay at the hotel. If you can swing it, stay at the hotel, and it will pay dividends with those late night conversations if you make them happen, right?
Yes. Yeah. And going back to the point about saving money and that kind of stuff, one of the ways that we try to facilitate that is if you look in the very top thread in the FinCon community group right now, in the announcement section, there's a Google Sheet there for finding a roommate, and so that's a fantastic way to try and cut down on costs while simultaneously staying, at the FinCon hotel. To your point, Joe, I mean, I can count countless conversations that I've had only because I was staying at the hotel and it was easy for me to go to my room, come back to my room, or come back to the lobby, see what's going on.
Chris Browning from Popcorn Finance hanging out here with us as we're making this. He says, I agree. The any party's great. I met so many new people on the last night. I heard a rumor that Chris is bringing the popcorn to the final party.
Is he bringing it? He's going to have to cook a lot of popcorn.
A lot of popcorn. Yes. And he always brings the finance. So yeah, there we go. Let's talk one more thing about that. Once again, a lot of introverts like us that are there. A great thing to talk about with people that you've never met on that last day is, what was the biggest thing you learned?
Yeah.
It's a great conversation starter. And you pick up so much from people, and then they're going to probably ask you the same thing back.
Yeah.
Right?
What are you going to do when you go home? Right. That's the key. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Which by the way, not only don't leave Saturday, on your ride home or your way home, I take tons of notes.
Yep.
I then take those notes, I take them on my iPad, and I begin taking them from notes to on my calendar to implement stuff. Because if you don't implement that stuff, I mean, you've seen the statistics, you don't implement it in the first 3 or 4 days, it's going to be gone.
Yep. Yeah. And to that point, maybe this is something that's interesting for people. If you still have your 9 to 5 job, if this side hustle isn't your main hustle yet, that's totally cool. That's a lot of us at FinCon. If you have the PTO at all, I would recommend at least considering taking Monday off work, especially from the standpoint of also doing what you just said, Joe, right? You're going to be fatigued, you're going to be worn out, and you're going to want some time just to mentally process everything that just happened and how you're going to take it forward. So definitely consider, at a minimum, do that on Sunday. If you can, Monday's great.
We got just a few more important topics here. If you're hanging out with us and you've got your own, if you're a veteran of FinCon, feel free in the comments to share yours, and we'll share them with everybody who's either watching the video or listening to this on the podcast. All right, what do we got next, Nick?
Yeah, so kind of on the same note of knowing what are you going to do when you leave FinCon, I also want you to think about that on the front end of what is it that you're trying to walk away with? What are you hoping? And this is where I really want you to do your homework. So we're going to have the FinCon app that's going to come out for your phone at some point this summer, the next month or so. And inside that app, we're going to have the schedule. We're also going to have the different niche meetups that are there, like I talked about earlier. We're also going to have the list of all the attendees and what they specialize in, what their niche is. Do your homework, kind of come prepared. And I want you to ask one question, and that is, what's the biggest thing you hope happens at FinCon? What are you trying to take away? And keep that in your mind as you approach the conference to make sure that you are doing the things that are going to make that happen.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I didn't do, of course, your first year, you really don't know what
you don't. Yeah, you may not even know how to answer that question. You may not know what you want, but at least give it some thought.
Yeah, no, the biggest disappointment that I get when I talk to people before the conference, when I ask, what are you going to try to learn here, which I was trying to do in our mastermind group, is when people says, well, I'm just going to kind of go network and see what happens. No.
Mm-mm.
I came to my first FinCon, just to give you an idea. I came to my first FinCon saying what Len had told me. I want to make sure this pays for itself. So I was thinking about my brand and how I was going to create relationships with companies that would want to support my brand financially, and I could help them get the word out about what they did. Sure enough, in that year, I came up with relationships with, I'm thinking now, a company called GemStep, which is gone, Fidelity Investments. So I had two. I came home with two of those, and I think even Magnify Money that year, who's still with me. I mean, Magnify Money and Stacking Benjamins have been together for a long time. And I believe Nick and I had a discussion there. So that was my biggest thing. And then obviously my second thing was to get as much content for the show as possible. So I brought my recorder and stop people in the hall and asked them if they could make a bumper for our show. And the bumper was, hey, my name's Nick True. When I'm not helping people map out their money, I'm stacking Benjamins,
That's it.
And I got as many of those bumpers as I could get from as many members of the community as possible. So just, you know what I mean? That's just one. Totally. That's me. You've got your thing, guys, that you're trying to do. Nick, talk the same thing for you. What exactly have you done in the past? Homework?
Yeah. I mean, right out of the gate, I knew that my first conference, I was focused on freelancing. I was really focused on figuring out a way to leave my day job at the time. And my kind of path, my strategy was freelance work, freelance marketing work. And so I came with that in mind. And, I built a good relationship with a handful of people at the conference, one of them being Jessica Buffkin in particular. And, 7-8 months later, after FinCon, actually, I think Jessica posted in the Facebook group that they were looking for some help and something on the team. And I, raised my hand and said, hey, I'm interested. And they remembered me from the conference and remembered hanging out. And I had volunteered quite a bit that year to really help out and stuff bags and do different things. And that led to me joining this team. And that has then also led to lots of other freelance opportunities down the road. So again, that was kind of my number one goal. And then my number two was to meet people and get a sense of like, okay, these are all real people. And if they can do it, maybe I can do it too.
Yeah.
Which was huge.
Yeah, that was, man, for me, my first FinCon, all the people I met, and they had these brands that I saw as big brands. I remember at my second FinCon, Josh Dorkin from Bigger Pockets telling me when he was showing me his numbers, I'm like, oh man. And he put his arm around me and he goes, don't compare your beginning with my middle.
Totally.
And it was fantastic. And from then on, whenever I need help, I still go to Josh Dorkin for help.
Yep.
And that wouldn't have happened had I not gone to FinCon. Next up, we got an award show.
We do have an award show. Yeah.
I flipping love the Plutus Awards. It's so fun.
Yeah, so every year we partner with Harlan and Miranda over at the Plutus Awards, and they put on a great show for everybody. So if you don't know what that is, I mean, it's our award ceremony. It is our Oscars for FinCon, and if you definitely don't want to miss out on that. It's a fun time, fun night, just to celebrate the community, celebrate new people, older people, everybody in between, all the different niches. It's just a fun time to celebrate everything that's going on in the personal finance creator community. So definitely show up for that.
Yeah, the Plutus Awards and the Plutus Foundation is such a cool organization. And I'm so happy that Plutus and FinCon partner together like they do. And it really, last year with the green carpet, that was funny. Instead of the red carpet, everybody could have your picture taken if you came in. The awards, I know we have new hosts this year. That's going to be fun. I think it's Sandy and Jordan, if I remember.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain are going to be our hosts, and they're both crazy in a good way. So that's going to be really fun. Don't miss the Plutus Awards. Even if you're not up for a Plutus Award, it's a great celebration of all things us, about indie stuff that we all do. I agree. Harlan Miranda, the whole team there does a great job. All right. Next up for us is the, this is a big one.
Yeah. So this kind of goes back to planning, right? You're going to get asked a lot about so what do you do? What brings you here? Who are you? And my favorite way to practice the elevator pitch is actually from a guy that I learned on his podcast named Jason Gaynard, and he runs an awesome podcast called Community Made. And he has a very simple framework where he just says, just work through this sentence. I help people that blank do blank. Now, for FinCon, you probably want to go a little more niche, because if you just say, I help people struggling with money, learn how to manage it. Most people at FinCon, can probably relate to that. We're all kind of in personal finance. But if you get a little more specific, maybe you help military moms who, are struggling with budgeting, and you learn how to, you help them learn how to do that. Or maybe you help 40 somethings who are interested in real estate learn how to buy their first property, right? Just think about who are the people that you help and what do you help them do? Or potentially, if you're coming and saying, I don't even have my blog set up, I don't have my website set up, but I want to do these things, talk about who you think you might want to help. I think I'd like to help these sorts of people do this kind of thing. Give that some thought on the front end. That way, when somebody asks you, you're not staring there with a blank stare on your face.
Well, I like that idea, especially if you're starting out, because especially if you're talking to veterans of FinCon who know a lot of the community, they'll point you to people. Oh, I know somebody that can help you with that. I know somebody you'd like to talk to. That'd be fantastic. And if they don't, by the way, don't feel bad to ask. Say, who do you think I should talk to about that? That might be helpful.
Yep.
And that's pretty exciting. By the way, when it comes to networking, I like what my good friend Miranda is here. Miranda Marquette is with us, and she says, don't be afraid to find an extrovert friend and make them do the heavy lifting.
Bingo.
Miranda just grabs somebody's arm and just follows them around the room. That is just, that's so Miranda.
That works too.
Yes. Anything else, guys? From our Facebook friends here hanging out with us, you have any other comments for us while Nick and I wrap this thing up? Any things that really are the keys to FinCon for you that we should make sure we do here before we sign off? I know, Nick, while we're doing that, let's talk about you. And actually, and because when you came there, it wasn't as a part of FinCon, it was for Mapped Out Money. Tell everybody what you do when you're not doing the FinCon stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So my wife and I run a site called Mapped Out Money, and YouTube is kind of our home base, and we put out videos there. And going back to the I help people that blank do blank, we help young people who are just struggling with the day-to-day aspects of managing their money learn how to create a budget that works for them and be able to get ahead. So that's kind of our big focus. And then also, obviously, I do some freelancing work as well. I work with FinCon and a few others, and it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. And if you can't tell, if you're watching the video, we live in a 2007 27-foot Airstream, and we do some travel, which is a lot of fun.
It's such a great story you guys have, and I know that you're. Oh, and by the way, I've got, and I can't see who posted this. Says Nick, I found your YouTube page and love your YNAB posts.
Oh, that's awesome.
Your Profit First one you posted as well, which is very cool. I'm trying to scroll back. We're doing two screens for those of you that joined us late. Facebook.
JJ Buckner, he's actually a YouTuber that I know. So he asked any recommendations on things that newbies must bring. So we covered a little bit of this earlier. I would say two things we didn't hit on would be cough drops. You will probably lose your voice if you do a lot of talking. I consistently lose mine every single year. So come prepared. I also pack Emergency, that like kind of powdery stuff to put into water. And then business cards. Yeah. So a lot of people bring business cards. It's probably not a bad idea at all to come prepared with them. I would say more than anything, what's even more important than business cards is just having some sort of game plan for keeping track of who you want to keep touch with. I personally just carry around a notepad in my back pocket and a pen, and I'll write down things about someone that I met that I want to make sure I follow up with.
Yeah, I never pack business cards. I never have, and I found that for me personally, I just lose business cards. I mean, they're at the bottom of my bag, and then I find them 2 months later, and the opportunity may be long gone by then. I'll tell you what I do, which is a little bit of a hack, is I take somebody's pass and I take a picture of it.
Oh, that's smart.
And so I take my phone, take a picture of people's pass.
That's smart.
So you'll be wearing your land, you're right on the front, take the picture, and then you'll remember. That has worked for me very, very well over a long time. And then here's a good one. On your trip home, plan your next steps so you don't lose momentum. That is specifically what I do on the way home, Jim. I mean, that whole plane ride is as much business as anything. I am definitely decompressing, and I'm prioritizing what things number one, what's number two, what's number three.
Yep. I think that is honestly, like I said, plan on the front end, plan on the back end. That's what's going to make this whole event a win for you, is really making sure you execute on both the front and the back end. And that way you're able to rock and roll and keep going.
Nick, man, this has been a blast as it was last year. I always have so much fun doing this with you.
I know. It's a good time. It's fun.
Thanks for hanging out.
I appreciate you having me on, Joe. As always, first timers they have a huge place in my heart. So excited to talk with them here, and can't wait to meet them all in just a couple of months.
You're going to love FinCon, guys. Everybody, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you again next time.
All right. Bye.